Hello everyone, Nick the DM here with some more Dungeons & Dragons content. Today we're taking a look at something that is a major talking point for DMs and players alike, and that is Frightful Presence. Now, Frightful Presence gets a bit of hate mostly from players who have had it used against them, and for the most part I can see why. Firstly, let's look at the ability. Frightful Presence is most commonly found among chromatic and metallic dragons, so I'll mainly refer to them when talking about the ability, but other creatures do have it in 5th edition, so let's just keep that in mind. Frightful Presence. Each creature of the dragon's choice that is within 120 feet of the dragon and aware of it must make a wisdom saving throw or become frightened for 1 minute. A creature can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending the effect on itself on a success. If a creature's saving throw is successful or the effect ends for it, that is important, so remember that for later, the creature is immune to the dragon's frightful presence for the next 24 hours. And the frightened condition causes creatures to have disadvantage on ability checks and attack rolls while the source of fear is within line of sight. Additionally, a creature cannot willingly move closer to the source of its fear. So this, most of the time, will take a lot of martial fighters out of combat if they fail it, because they can neither get closer nor attack without disadvantage. Also, the dragon can use this each turn as part of its multi-attack, so if any creatures were out of range the first time it used it, it can get them on its subsequent turns after that. Now, this can add some difficulty to an encounter, but the issue most people have with it mainly comes from the difficulty check of the ability itself. The DC for Frightful Presence is 8 plus the proficiency bonus of the dragon, which is based on its challenge rating, plus the charisma modifier of the dragon. Now, this isn't so bad when it comes to, say, an ancient white dragon, for example, with a +2 charisma and a +6 proficiency at CR 20, making the Frightful Presence DC a 16. However, when we look at the ancient red dragon with a +6 charisma and a +7 proficiency bonus, the DC becomes 21. Or an ancient gold dragon with a charisma of +9 and a proficiency bonus of +7 for a DC of 24. This is a problem because if a character without a high wisdom save gets hit with one of these abilities, they basically can't succeed and are taken out of combat for a full minute. A creature without proficiency in wisdom saves and with an average wisdom modifier may only succeed against an ancient red dragon with a roll of 18 or higher on a d20, which is pretty low odds. While a character without proficiency and with no bonus to a wisdom save will never succeed on a DC 21 check, unless of course you're counting nat 20s as an autosave, but even then, with a 1 in 20 chance of succeeding, it's quite possible that the full minute will elapse by then and the party will probably no longer be alive. This has led to a lot of people complaining that their seasoned adventurers shouldn't be afraid of the dragon, or the DCs shouldn't be any higher than 20. Now, that first point is just wrong. I don't care how seasoned your characters may be, anyone who stands in the presence of an 85-foot-long, 100-foot wingspan, 16,000-pound, fire-breathing ancient red dragon should be scared or they lack basic reasoning. However, this video isn't to list the issues people have with Frightful Presence. This video is made to show those people why the ability doesn't need to change. So whenever a player challenges the DM about it, they can just show them this video and get me a few more views. So I've compiled a list of basically every ability, racial trait, and spell that can be used to combat fear, all the way from basic race selection to 20th level class abilities. A few things before I get into this list. I only list things that are fully accessible by the player, so no charms, draconic gifts, or boons, just races, classes, and sub-races. Of course, these are still technically up to the DM's discretion to allow if they decide to limit the race or class options for their campaign, but there are quite a few, so that shouldn't be a problem. Also, I mainly focused on abilities that deal with fear specifically. A few options assist in wisdom saves, but I didn't include all of those because they aren't as specific to this video, but I still added a few that were obvious choices. Also, I only included official Wizards of the Coast material and Unearthed Arcana, so no Tal'Dorei campaign setting because that was published before they were directly affiliated with Wizards of the Coast and came out as an official sourcebook, and no Legends of Runeterra, Dark Tides of Bilgewater, etc. Even though these also have some options to combat Frightful Presence, and a few of them are quite good options at that, I just didn't include them because I'm looking for kind of adventures legal stuff. Not entirely, because Unearthed Arcana is kind of iffy, but just the stuff that you will more commonly find in your campaigns. So without further ado, let's take a look at all the ways you can help yourself and your party combat Frightful Presence. Alright, so starting first off, we're going to start with the races. First we have Halfling, which has the Brave ability, advantage against being frightened. Next, Hobgoblin from Volo's Guide, Saving Face. Hobgoblins are careful not to show weakness in front of their allies for fear of losing status. If you miss with an attack roll or fail an ability check or a saving throw, you can gain a bonus to the roll equal to the number of allies you can see within 30 feet of you, maximum of +5. Once you use this trait, you can't use it again until you finish a long or short rest. The Unearthed Arcana Feywild, number 77, allows you to use this feature a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. So this can be fairly good to have just most of the time a static +5, +4 based on the party size or the allies around you. And this can help you just boost it up just over that threshold to succeed the save. Next is the Kobold from the Unearthed Arcana 78 Draconic options. One of the Draconic Legacy options gives advantage against being frightened or rolling to end the condition. The Githzerai subrace specifically, has Mental Discipline, which is advantage against being charmed or frightened. Lokatha from Lokatha Rising Extra Life 2019, Leviathan's Will, advantage on saving throws against being charmed, frightened, paralyzed, poisoned, stunned, or put to sleep. So frightened is one of those conditions. The Verdun from Acquisitions Incorporated has Telepathic Insight, advantage on Wisdom and Charisma saves. The Kender from Unearthed Arcana 81, Heroes of Krynn, has Brave, advantage against frightened and ending the condition, like the Halfling. The Kalashtar from Eberron has Dual Mind, advantage on Wisdom saving throws. The Kenra from Planeshift Amonkhet, the Kenra Twins ability. If the twin is dead or they were born without a twin, they cannot be frightened at all. The Core from Planeshift Zendikar has Brave, advantage against being frightened. The Loxodon has Loxodon Serenity, advantage against being charmed or frightened. Vedalken from Ravnica exclusively has Vedalken Dispassion, which gives it advantage on all Intelligence, Wisdom, and Charisma saving throws. The Vedalken from Planeshift Kaladesh, their ability only gives advantage on Intelligence, Wisdom, and Charisma saves if they're against magic specifically. And that is it for racial abilities. And that is just basically it. If you are a 0 level character with one of these races, you immediately get one of those abilities. And that can be beneficial right from the start. Now we're getting into the more class-specific options, starting at level 1 and working our way through to level 20. I'll list the class and the ability in that order. Realistically, dragons only start having a Frightful Presence at the adult age, the weakest of which is the adult white dragon, which is a challenge rating 13, but you can always encounter the frightened condition, and it's possible to encounter monsters above the party's level, so these abilities are always useful. Level 1. The Bard has Bardic Inspiration. Adding a d6 to a saving throw within the next 10 minutes becomes a d8 at 5th level, a d10 at 10th level, and a d12 at 15th level. You can use this a number of times equal to the Bard's Charisma modifier. So if the party knows they're going into a dragon's lair, the Bard can pick out those characters who are the least likely in the party to save on Frightful Presence, give them, if you're maxed out your Bard, 5 characters, a Bardic Inspiration, or if there's only a few of them that you know will probably fail, give them a few and then save the rest of your Bardic Inspiration for the battle. It's pretty easy, it lasts for 10 minutes, so it's fairly effective against dragons and Frightful Presence. The Warlock, the Undead, has the ability Form of Dread. While in this form, which lasts for 1 minute, you are immune to being frightened, and you can use the ability a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. So most combats will probably not last more than 1 minute, though if they do run long, you can use this up to 2 times immediately, because proficiency bonus is +2, so 2 full minutes of being unable to be frightened, which can be very useful. At 2nd level, we have the Cleric, the Twilight Domain, has Channel Divinity, Twilight Sanctuary, lasts 1 minute, and each creature within 10 feet of you that ends its turn, you can either end a charmed or frightened condition on that creature. So anytime a creature comes within 10 feet, ends its turn, you can choose to remove one of those conditions. So it's a good way for the party, if they have to run away from the battle, having the cleric in the back, to have the party run towards them and end the condition, making them immune to the Frightful Presence for the next 24 hours. Because that's how it works. If it ends in any way, then they are immune to it for 24 hours. Level 3, the Fighter Monster Hunter subclass from the Unearthed Arcana 13 Gothic Heroes has superior willpower. You can add a d8 combat die to an Intelligence, Wisdom, or Charisma save, which becomes a d10 at 10th level and a d12 at 18th level. Again, just a flat bonus to saves, or to a Wisdom save, but it can still be pretty good, especially if you roll high on a d8. Then that's pretty good for low level. At level 3, having a d8 that you can add. At level 6, we have the Barbarian Berserker subclass, has Mindless Rage, can't be charmed or frightened while raging, and it suppresses the condition for the duration. So if they're already frightened and they choose to rage, they are no longer frightened and continue to fight as normal. The Zealot Barbarian has Fanatical Focus, once per rage can reroll a failed saving throw. Not a great ability, but if it's very desperate and they need the Barbarian to get in there, then you can potentially reroll the save and succeed. The Paladin Aura of Protection. Allies within 10 feet gain a bonus to saves equal to your Charisma bonus. This radius increases to 30 feet at 18th level. So if you're min-maxing your Paladin, that will give all your allies at 6th level, all your allies within 10 feet of you, gain a +5 bonus to saves, just flat equal to the Charisma bonus. So this will probably push any players that couldn't save, period, into the realm of being able to save against most or any Frightful Presence. The Sorcerer Aberrant Mind has Psychic Defenses, resistance to psychic damage, as well as advantage on saving throws against being charmed or frightened. Druid or Warlock has the Mage of Witherbloom Unearthed Arcana option, where they can use Witherbloom Brew. Quickening Brew can end the frightened condition on a creature who drinks it. Then we go to 7th level. We have Monk, which has Stillness of Mind, can use an action to end the frightened or charmed condition. It's not always great to waste an action, but it is better to use that one action to end the frightened or charmed condition, being immune to it for the next 24 hours, than try to run away during your turn and save at the end of each turn. The Ranger Fey Wanderer has Beguiling Twist, advantage against being charmed or frightened, and can even reverse the effect if you or another creature within 120 feet succeed the save, targeting another creature of your choice to save against your spell save DC instead. So what that means is if a Fey Wanderer Ranger is within 120 feet of any of the party, not only does the Ranger themselves have advantage against frightened, if any of your allies succeed against that saving throw, then you can make whatever target you choose within range save against your spell save DC to become frightened. So if a dragon uses Frightful Presence, one of your party members within 120 feet saves, you can then try and make that dragon frightened of you. Next we have Ranger from the Hunter subclass, has Defensive Tactics option, Steel Will, advantage on saving throws against being frightened. At level 9, Fighter has Indomitable, where they can reroll a saving throw taking the new number. Again, not a great option, it's just one reroll, but it can be pretty good. Level 10, we're only halfway through the levels and we already have covered so many options. The Barbarian Zealot subclass has Zealous Presence. Up to 10 creatures of your choice within 60 feet gain advantage on attack and saving throws. Druid from the Circle of Land subclass has Nature's Ward, not really applicable for dragons, but they are immune to Charmed and Frightened from Fey or Elementals. So if you're fighting a large Elemental or a Archfey, then you don't have to worry about the Frightened condition at all. The Fighter Psi Warrior subclass has Guarded Mind. If they start their turn charmed or frightened, they can spend a psionic energy die to end every effect on them, subjecting them to those conditions. So that's just a flat ending the condition on you, which can be extremely beneficial. At 10th level as well, the Paladin has Aura of Courage. You and friendly creatures within 10 feet of you can't be frightened while you are conscious. That's pretty good, but it also means that the party has to stay within 10 feet of you. This aura increases to 30 feet at 18th level, but it doesn't end the frightened condition. So only if the party is sticking together Does this really apply because it makes them immune to frightened? If they are frightened outside of the aura, they can't come in it and become unfrightened. And it's not always the best thing to stay grouped together against a dragon with a breath weapon, but it is fairly good to start combat to at least get one round off right away if you stay in close when you enter, immune to the Frightful Presence right away, and then charge in, and at least you'll get one round before anyone becomes frightened. The Warlock Raven Queen from the Unearthed Arcana gives Raven's Shield, and it gives immunity to the frightened condition. Level 14 now, the Barbarian Path of the Beast, the UA version of the subclasses Call of the Hunt feature, gives advantage on saves against being frightened. This is only the Unearthed Arcana version of the Path of the Beast. The official one does not have this specific ability. Then Druid Circle of Spores, Fungal Body, many effects, one of which makes the character immune to frightened. The fungal body just has so many things, but being immune to frightened is one of those ones, so can be very beneficial. Level 15, the fighter from the Banneret or Banneret subclass, I'm not going to bother looking at pronunciations. The Bulwark, when the fighter rerolls an intelligence, wisdom, or charisma save using the Indomitable feature, they can target an ally within 60 feet that failed its save against the same effect, and they can reroll again. So this means that the fighter can use Indomitable and also target an ally as long as they're within 60 feet, and they can both reroll that save. Of course, this means they have to take the new save, so it's not really advantage, it's just you hope you get a higher number. And then finally, we have level 20. Not many high-level effects against fear, but there's a lot of low-level ones, which says something for how easy it is to pick an option to remove fear. But level 20, the Paladin Oath of the Crown has Exalted Champion. You and allies within 30 feet of you have advantage on Wisdom saving throws. This does mean that if they are within 30 feet of you, they're immediately immune to frightened, but if you have Oath of the Crown, once they leave and then become frightened after that, they can enter the aura again and have advantage on Wisdom saving throws, potentially allowing them to end the effect on themselves easier. Now that we're done with class features, let's move on to spells. Now the great thing about spells is a lot of them are accessible by many different classes, so you don't even have to be specialized in one class or one subclass specifically. You can still play whatever you want, just have maybe one or two of these spells available at any given time. First level, we have Heroism. The Bard and Paladin can use this spell. It's concentration for 1 minute. A creature is immune to the frightened condition. Sadly, this only lasts a minute, and the creature can be affected by Frightful Presence after because the effect never ended or a save was never successful. But for each level above first that this spell is cast at, you can target an additional creature. So if the Bard wants to stay in the back, they can pop this on a number of creatures at a higher level, and then just stay back and allow everyone to be immune to frightened. But the moment concentration ends, then they are still subjected to the frightened condition after that, or the Frightful Presence. Second level, we have Calm Emotions available to the Bard and Cleric. I'm also not including that there are certain subclasses that allow you to gain access to spells that aren't normally in the classes list, but you'll just find those out if you pick the subclass. But otherwise, just basically Bard and Cleric have Calm Emotions. Concentration for 1 minute. This spell targets all creatures in a 20-foot sphere concentrated on a point within 60 feet of the caster. Suppresses the frightful condition while the caster is concentrating. The effect resumes when the spell ends, but if the effect duration has elapsed, then the target is no longer frightened. So if the caster can concentrate the whole time, the whole 1 minute for the Calm Emotions, then anyone who was frightened, if they go through that entire time limit, they are no longer frightened because the condition ends and they can't be frightened again for 24 hours. This again, concentration's a little bit of an issue all the time because if you get hit, it can immediately just ruin everything. But this can be pretty good if, again, you have a back line with a Bard and or Cleric and just prevent fright for a little bit. Third level, Intellect Fortress, which is available to the Artificer, Bard, Sorcerer, Warlock, and Wizard. Gives one target advantage on Intelligence, Wisdom, and Charisma saves for 1 hour or until concentration ends. Another concentration one, but you can pop it on a frontline fighter, let them run in, and they'll get advantage for the first little bit until you get hit, and then they should be fine if they've succeeded by that point. Magic Circle is an honorable mention because while it does prevent the frightened condition against certain creatures, it takes a minute to cast, costs 100 gold pieces, lasts an hour, and your party would have to stay within the circle or cast it around the target, which is just too many specific conditions to fulfill. Unless, say, you were to know a target was coming after you, then you could place it down, potentially cast it, and then it would sit there for a while. Motivational speech from the Bard and Cleric classes. Up to 5 creatures gain 5 temporary hit points for the next hour. While they have these hit points, they have advantage on Wisdom saving throws, and if they are hit, their next attack is made with advantage, but once the hit points are gone, the effect ends on the creatures. 4th level spells. Aura of Purity, Cleric, and Paladin. Concentration for 10 minutes. Each creature within 30 feet of you has advantage against effects that cause the frightened condition, among other things, but specifically we're looking at the frightened condition. So again, concentration, but this can be especially good because if you are not a Oath of the Crown Paladin, as I mentioned earlier from the 20th level ability, you can use this and give allies advantage against Wisdom saves. So if they, again, leave your aura of immune to fright, they get frightened, come back in, they can get advantage to remove that. 5th level spells. Hallow is another honorable mention because it takes 24 hours to cast and costs 1,000 gold pieces, but if you are, say, protecting a citadel or a sanctuary, and you know a dragon is coming to attack, then you can cast this in advance, which again, pretty expensive, but if it's, let's say, your party's base of operations, can be very useful. But not really a contender for in combat. 6th level, Hero's Feast, Bard, Cleric, and Druid, gives immunity to the frightened condition to 12 creatures for 24 hours, among numerous other effects. It casts 10 minutes to cast and an hour to consume and costs 1,000 gold pieces, but it's a lot faster than Hallow because you can use it and then move around for the next 24 hours. So you do this, then go fight the dragon in their lair, you're immune to the frightened condition, among another bunch of other things. It's a must-have for high-level characters going to fight ancient or stronger dragons. 9th level. The only 9th level spell on this list is Power Word Heal for the Bard or the Cleric. It's a last-ditch effort if the Barbarian is really low on hit points and is also frightened, for example. Then you can fully heal them and end that condition on them. But it's not really viable if you could just use your 9th level for maybe damaging. Or even just to mass heal the party. But if you absolutely need one of your players who has failed their save again and again to get in there and be healed, then Power Word Heal would be an option. And that is it. That's the list. So realistically, there are a ton of different ways that a party can overcome Frightful Presence, regardless of the party's composition. As you saw, there are numerous classes, subclasses, spells that can be taken by just about anyone. Even there was an Artificer spell in there that can just help you with Frightful Presence, with any type of fear condition. Anyways, that is all I have for you all today. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give it a like and subscribe to help support the channel and to catch more D&D videos. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!